Welcome back to the Financial Cleanse series. This is part 3. We are going to be covering all things savings. My name is Justine with Debt Free Millennials, and we're going to be talking about how to clean up your savings goals and what order you should have your savings. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we all know the importance of saving money, whether that be for an emergency or cash flowing certain things like a vacation, a new car. Maybe you want to save up for a wedding and pay for your own wedding. That's something that my husband and I did. But we want to prioritize how we are saving. So if you've kind of been ignoring this or you don't feel consistent with your savings, this is the video for you. The first thing that you need to definitely pay attention to is your starter emergency fund. That definitely needs to come first before you start attacking all these other different savings goals, because we know emergencies pop up. You either lose your job, your cell phone goes down the toilet and you need to replace it, you get a flat tire, something happens with your car and it breaks down, and you need to be able to realistically cover those expenses without putting yourself into more debt. So when I say starter emergency fund, what we've discussed in the Debt Free Millennials Facebook group, which is a private free group that you can join using the link below, is that $1,000 and what Dave Ramsey says is just not enough for a starter emergency fund. Ideally, many millennials are talking 2 to 3 months of expenses saved up in a separate savings account for emergencies. Now, when I say 2 to 3 months of expenses, that means covering the basic essentials for 2 to 3 months, so that if you didn't have any income coming in, that you could actually go into that savings account and use it to pay for emergencies or keep the lights on. So that includes things like rent or a mortgage payment, your utilities, groceries, any type of food, not including restaurant spending, but truly like groceries, and any car related expenses. Take a total of all of those basic needs, add that up for 1 month, then multiply it by 2 or 3 to get 2 to 3 months of your initial emergency fund. If you already have that built up, then you want to take a look at fully funding your emergency fund, which is 6 months of expenses or more. Now, I've done a whole video on how much exactly your fully funded emergency fund should be, so definitely check out that video. I will link to that in the description box below, but that would be the next step in terms of savings. Now, you can save for other things while you are saving for your fully funded emergency fund. That's totally okay, but just get an idea of you're not stopping at 2 to 3 months of expenses. Ideally, you are going to do 6 months or more for that emergency fund. After you get the emergency fund plan in place and you know exactly how much you need, and then building up a monthly contribution inside of your budget, then you can go ahead and add in different savings goals that you might have. So for me, Kyle and I have recently fully funded a second car purchase, and we've actually been saving for that goal for the past 3 years. So I knew exactly how much I wanted to spend on a vehicle, and then I had 3 years, and then I said, okay, now divide that goal amount by 36 months, and that's exactly how much money I should be planning on contributing each month in order to hit my goal. So a proper savings goal should always have a goal end date and a goal amount, and then know exactly how much you are going to be contributing at minimum per month. So let's say, for example, Kyle and I had this goal of saving for a second car that was around $35,000. Initially, we set the goal of, okay, we are going to contribute $750 a month. If we have any additional money left over in our budget, that will go towards the car fund, and then we can actually get to our goal much faster. That is a way that you can build out your savings goals and still feel like you have some flexibility on how you want to approach that goal. Another great idea when it comes to cleaning up your savings goals is to make sure you have each of your goals in a separate savings account. So the great thing about keeping them separated is that you can actually nickname your savings accounts so that you're not tempted to pull money out of that savings account for something else. So I nicknamed our car fund Jeep Wrangler. And so if I was tempted to pull money out of that account, then I would know, okay, well, now I'm $500 short of putting that towards the Jeep Wrangler. So that way it gives you more of a realistic picture of what that money is earmarked for. And along the lines of savings accounts, you have to make sure that your money is in the appropriate account to maximize your savings. So is it in a high yield savings account versus a money market account? And the best way that you can figure out which account is best for you is to look inside of the accounts that you have set up right now and take a look at the associated interest rate. Now, interest rates on savings accounts are not at peak highs right now because those interest rates are typically following the trends of the interest rates that are set by the Federal Reserve. So when those interest rates go down, typically so do interest rates on savings accounts and money market accounts. But you do have some flexibility on where you can bank and what type of account you want to have. So a high yield savings account is going to typically give you a higher interest rate than a money market account or a traditional savings account. Take a look inside of your account. This is part of your financial cleanse homework, is to take a look inside of those existing accounts and see what the associated interest rate is. I did this with my money market account and I was seriously getting like 0.07%, which is nothing on my savings. So I ended up switching over to a high yield savings account. I personally use Ally, but there's a ton of these online banks out there that have higher interest rates because they have less overhead. Ally Bank doesn't have any traditional brick or mortar locations, so you are going to get less expenses, less overhead expenses, which means more money in the consumer pocket. Now, if you are saving for something that has a short to midterm goal due date, such as a down payment where you're thinking maybe I'll buy a house in 5 years and you don't really want to have that much liquid cash on hand, then you could take a look at opening up an individual brokerage account. So a brokerage account is a type of investing account where you can invest money into and then take that money out whenever you want. Just be sure you understand the tax impacts that has. So you could pay capital gains tax, and there's short-term and long-term capital gains tax on those brokerage accounts. But what Kyle and I do for our down payment is we have half of our down payment savings inside of a brokerage account with Vanguard, and we are primarily invested in bond index funds. Now we're using bond index funds because they are conservative funds where you're typically not getting a high interest rate like you would on maybe stocks or stock index funds, but you are still getting a better interest rate than a high yield savings account. In fact, we have earned over 5% on our brokerage account by using bond index funds because we know it's going to be a few more years until we're in a house. And so we can maximize our savings by investing in bond index funds. I have a whole video on how bond index funds work. If you want to check that out, I will link to that in the description box below. Now, a great way to keep your savings in check is to make sure that you are addressing your spending every single month, because we know the amount of money that you spend is direct correlation to how much money you can save. So I cover a variety of different activities that you can use to control your spending in my How to Control Your Spending workbook, which is for sale using the link in the description box below. And there's just a variety of activities where you can track your spending, track those receipts, color in some debt-free charts or some savings charts. In fact, I do have one for funding a car, which is really awesome, where you can print it out, color it, and stick it on your fridge. It's a really great motivating tool that I've personally used. And these are great ways to even improve your savings habit even more. So let me know in the description box below, do you have an emergency fund? Yes or no? And 2, what is one fun savings goal that you are trying to implement this year or this month? Is it for maybe you are saving for a new pet? I've had people come up with savings goals for that. Or maybe you want to take a trip to Cabo. Have that set up as a savings goal inside of your budget and then nickname that savings account Cabo. That way, you know, if you are tempted to pull money from it, then you are pulling money from Cabo, and I would hate for you to miss out on a margarita by the beach. All right, that is part 3 of the financial cleanse. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and then stick around for part 4, where we will be covering a financial cleanse of all your investments.